Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a brand new, well sort of, offering from the brand Oris. Now you may be looking at this and thinking, well, it's for 65 diver, we can tell. And yes it is. Let's face it, about 10 years ago they relaunched the 65 diver. I've got one, I love it, I think it's amazing. And there have been a whole plethora of different variations of it. But everyone always keeps reverting back to that reissue from 10 years ago as the firm favourite. And so 60 years later, they've done the Oris 65 60th anniversary. And they've gone back to basics, really, back to how it looked, back in the day. And I applaud them for that because it just looks superb, though it is different. And they've kind of, it's kind of nice that you can still see there is a difference. But before I start off in this review, I've got to say a massive thank you to the team over at First Class Watches of Kenilworth for allowing me to review this piece. I say it so many times, but honestly, if you're in the Kenilworth area, it's well worth popping into the shop because they've got so many diverse brands, really, lots of interesting watches to look at. I'd strongly recommend popping down there. If you're a bit too far afield, well, don't worry, just I'll leave a link in the description below and at the bottom of the page now. All I ask is that you do mention the channel if you contact them. So anyway, let's start by talking sizes of this. Now, they do say it's 40mm, and it is correct. The bezel is 40mm, but the case size is a little bit smaller, and that's at 39mm. The thickness of the watch, even though this looks quite a small watch, it's actually 13mm thick, but that is purely because, really, that big, chunky, lovable crystal on the top there. The lug-to-lug on this one is 48mm, and the straps, well, the bracelet size on this is coming in at 20mm. The dial is just fantastic. I like this. It's got that inky black dial. You can see the reflection of the second hand as it glides about there. It's got a real good gloss to it. I think it looks superb the way it is. Then you have these amazing old-fashioned, 1965 script on there, the font they use, and it looks superb. I love how you get the distortion from that crystal, and it kind of, you can almost never read the font as it actually is. It always seems to be distorted from the sides, and it looks very cool for that. Plus as well, the lume is really good and strong on this watch. So it's a definite kind of scuba skin diver, I suppose you would call it. Now, they have changed, I should point out these lovely polished hands. The hands look superb. You've got the minute track around there like on the original, but everything is just slightly different. So they've changed the script for the Oris Air, and I love how they put waterproof. That is just so cool because obviously I didn't think you were even allowed to say waterproof these days because let's face it, it has 100 meters of water resistance on there. And then down here you have anti-shock 26 jewel, and the big difference from the early one, no date window, but it looks clean for it to be. Not that the other one didn't, because it was at 6 o'clock, but it does look kind of cool for it. That dial, I just think, looks superb. It really is just a timeless classic, if that makes sense. Now, as we come past that, we've got one of the stars of the show here, and that is that crystal. The sapphire crystal on this looks superb. It's one of the things which makes this watch, I think. It really does look good. I believe there is AR coating on there. Actually, before I talk about it, I should also mention the price of this watch. Now, I believe the list price on this is $1,950, but I know you can get it for about $1,700 or so from First Class Watches. So, do bear that in mind. I think at this price point, it's superb. The bezel next. Now, let's have a listen to the action. It's a little bit different to the original. That's quite interesting, actually. Back play. Oh, it's a bi-directional bezel, which is quite unusual, actually, for a dive watch Air. So that is quite interesting, but it is very solid. It doesn't actually seem to be any play in there at all. And is that a, let's see, is that a 60 click? 1, 2, No, that's actually good. That's actually really surprising. The bezel action is superb. Does it line up? Yes, of course it does. So that is really cool. You do have an aluminium insert on this. And I like that. They could have so easily put a ceramic bezel insert in there, but it would somehow have lost its charm, I think, if they'd have gone for that. So I actually applaud that they've stuck with the aluminium on there. Now, the actual bezel itself, they've kept kind of the original coin edge bezel there, even though it's silver on this one where it was black on the original, but it is kind of easy to purchase. It's not too kind of, you know, it's still got enough friction, but you're not going to suddenly just knock it against, you know, your side and move the bezel. So I think that's quite cool. They've kept it a nice kind of friction on there. The case itself, I've always loved this watch because it kind of hides its dimensions so well, because you only read this as the case, and you tend not to read all the case back or the top up here or that crystal, so it always looks slimmer than it actually is. It's beautifully polished. It's real nice polish work on the side, and then you have the straight graining going across the lugs there and kind of matches up with the bracelet also. I should point out there is also a leather strap which comes in the box, but I don't have that with me, unfortunately. Overall, I think the case is a kind of timeless look to it. It does bend, it does have a little bit of an angle on there. You have the crown on this side. I should point out there's no date, but there's no ghost date either on this. So as I pull that out, let's pull it out. There you go. It goes straight into hand wind. There's no ghost date. So screw that down, it screws in first time really well. On the back there, we've got a solid case back on the back, which is a shame, but that's how the original was, so they kept with it. Underneath there, they've got their caliber 233, I believe it's called. I did put this on the time grapher and it was doing great. I think it was pulling -1 second, give or take, in the position I had it. So that is, in essence, really, it's an SW200 variant, 26 joules, around about 40 hours of power reserve, you know, bi-directional winding, all the good stuff on there. It's a solid movement. You can't, there's no fault in it. The only thing, well, I suppose you could say don't overhand wind it. That's the only thing I would say, but it is a superb movement. Any watchmaker can service it for you, no problems at all. Now, as we come past that, they've kept with the old style kind of faux riveted bracelet, and it does look cool. It is just all brush, which makes it incredibly easy to actually work on. This one is, actually, is that a split pin or pin and collar? I'm not sure actually on that. It could be a, I think that is actually, I'm not quite sure if that must be a push pin, I think, because I can't see any screw heads on there. If anyone knows for definite, if anyone sized this watch, please let me know. I'd be interested to find out on that one. And they've kept with the really small clasp on the back, and I love it. My one is just so comfortable. As you can see, no on-the-fly micro adjustment or any of that nonsense. It is just a standard multi-adjustable one on there. So you got 6 levels of adjustment. We've still got the plastic on there. Twin button, super smooth, no sharp edges at all. It looks superb. Let me do a quick wrist shot so you got an idea how it looks. On my wrist, oh, there's another 65 diver for you. So yeah, at some point I will compare the two so you can get to know all the ins and outs and the differences between them. And Bob, look what Bob's got. He's got the Zin EZM3. So that will be coming soon. So anyway, my wrist size is 7¼ inches, which works out around about to 18.5 centimeters. And realistically, what we're talking about, an 8-inch wrist, I'd say can fit on there, no problem at all. And that is it on my wrist. It is, I have a real soft spot for this watch. It's one of those watches you just put on and it feels right on the wrist. I am a big fan. You know, what can I say? There's, one other thing on this. There's also, I believe you get a 2-year warranty, but if you actually register it with Oris, you get an extra year, so 3 years worth of warranty on these watches. Honestly, guys, they're great. I can't recommend them enough. So I'll leave you with it with that one, and any comments, leave them down in the comment section. I'll always try and get back to you. So all the best, and most importantly, you stay safe out there. Take care. Bye.